So the Manchester United fans have reacted to this takeover news after the last 24 hours, and it's safe to say a lot of us are upset and concerned about it, and rightly so. 25%, the Glazers are still here. But there's a lot of questions to be raised. Okay, yes, Sir Jim might come in, he might eventually have full control, he can operate sporting things, he can bring in Paul Mitchell. But there's questions like, where's Sir Jim's money coming from? Is he going to put more debt on the club? Is he going to clear the debt? Is he going to invest in the squad? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? We've had Musk come out and put out a statement. Gary Neville has said a few things, and there's been a lot of questions asked that need to be answered by Sir Jim. And I want to get into what Sky Kavanagh has said, because I think he has said everything spot on. I think a lot of the journalists over this takeover have been clickbaity, and then they'll be all Qatar, and as soon as they find out it's Sir Jim, they're all going to go, oh, Sir Jim, Sir Jim, Sir Jim. And Sky Kavanagh's come out and he said basically Qatar's side of the story, how the Qataris feel. But he's also said, well, these are the questions that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos need to answer about where the money's coming through, this and that. Because at the moment, we don't know where our club is going. We don't know where the future of our club lies until these questions are answered. So I'm going to dive into that. And then there's obviously rumours of us getting Todabo now because Nice links Sir Jim. I definitely think it's more likely. I'll probably discuss that in my video tomorrow. But Manchester United reportedly rumoured to be open to triggering a €30 million release clause of this 18-year-old right winger that's got 3 goals or 5 goals in La Liga so far this season. Again, I think a lot of the media and news coming out is PR spin, fans are frustrated. But apparently we're set to buy some right winger from the La Liga. So I will get into that at the end, but let's talk about the takeover. So I do want to give a shout out to Sky Kavanagh here. He's not shied away from questions that need to be answered, and I think his questions have summed up this whole situation perfectly. He said, first of all, where is the 1.3 billion coming from for Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Is it being borrowed? If so, who will be responsible for paying it back? How long will it take for them to own the club, and when will the Glazers be leaving, and are they definitely going? This thing is, this is okay. 1.3 billion. Okay, if it's being borrowed, which I believe it is, how are we paying it back? Is the club going to be in more debt? Is Ineos going to pay it back? That is the first question. Second question is, are they going to own the whole club and how long that will take? Are the Glazers definitely going? We need to know that. He said, what are the role of Ratcliffe's advisors, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, playing in the deal? How much are they making? Who's paying them? All of that stuff as well. And remember, JP Morgan did work with Malcolm Glazer when he brought United 18 years ago. So not the names you really want to be linked to United again, and they also backed the Super League project in 2021. So very, very fair point there. He then said, what will the money be spent on? So Jim Ratcliffe's going to give them 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 billion. Where's that money going to be spent? Is it going to go on Class A shares? Like, where is that going? What are the Glazers going to do with it? He said, what is going to happen to United's debt, which was 969 million in March? United were debt free before the Glazers arrived. And do you know what's mad? We're nearly $1 billion in debt, and we were debt free before they arrived as well. So, are we going to be in more debt because of Sir Jim Ratcliffe borrowing money to buy the club? Is he going to clear the debt? Where's the debt going to go on? Ineos? There's those questions as well. What are the plans for redeveloping Old Trafford in the training ground? Again, what are the plans? Like, what's going to happen to the training ground? Is he going to be able to do what's needed to be done? Because we're falling behind on and off the pitch. But also, are Ineos using their sports investment to greenwash their image as an operator of polluting industries? We talk about Qatar and sports washing, but Ineos, let's not act like they're perfect. They've got a lot of problems as well. What's going to happen to the other clubs? Remember when there was a lot of controversy about Qatar owning us because of PSG, and we had to prove it separate? Well, what's going to happen because Nice are currently second in the French league and could be in the Champions League next year? What's going to happen with that? What's going to happen with Sir Jim's other clubs? And one of them, he's got relegated twice. Also, just other questions as well, about what certain people's roles will be. Will there be a new sporting director? Who's going to be staying? Who's going to be going? And these are the questions that need to be answered. And it's nice to have an actual journalist and Sky Kavanagh saying this, because I feel like a lot of journalists they play it safe. They want to keep good relations with the club. They don't ask the questions that need to be asked. And these are the questions that need to be answered by Sir Jim. Where's the money being borrowed from? How are we going to pay it back? What's this going to do to the club? What's his role going to be? These questions need to be answered. We need to know the Glazers are going. We need to know that debt's going to be cleared. We need to know that we're not being used as a tool to add more debt on. Because, I could say, okay, maybe Ratcliffe comes in, he brings in Paul Mitchell and he gets the Glazers completely gone and it could be an improvement. That's the best case scenario. But it's still worrying. Is Ratcliffe just going to be another Glazer? That's the big question mark. He's willing to keep the Glazers here despite saying he's a Man United fan. He tried to buy Chelsea. You know, what are Ratcliffe's intentions with United? Are they good? Are they bad? And I think that's the worrying thing. And I have to give that to Sky Kavanagh. I think he asked every question that needed to be asked. And I don't think a lot of journalists or sources have been doing that. I think you'll see a lot of top sources now who were speaking about the takeover start sucking up to Sir Jim because they want to keep good relationships with the club. Where Sky Kavanagh is basically saying, well, these questions need to be asked. And he said a few things. And he said, obviously, he spoke about the takeover in more detail on the Qatari side. And he said about one source close to the takeover. And he said, what is happening is totally unreal. The Glazers' valuation is insanely fanciful. Sheikh Yassim offered them almost double the market capitalization. I'm ill, so I can't speak properly today anyway. Sorry about that. He was a cash buyer. He was going to clear all the debts. There would have been no new debt, and he was going to put in another 1.4 billion for the stadium and the team. You know, that's the crazy thing. He was going to clear the debt. He was going to buy the club for double market value, and then he had 1.4 billion in pledged investment for the stadium and the team. You know, we don't know if Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to bring that. I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to say, yeah, I'm going to buy the club and then put another 1.4 billion away to improve the stadium and the team. I don't know if Sir Jim Ratcliffe has the funds to do that. He's borrowing money to buy the club. And yeah, as said, all of this wasn't good enough for the Glazers, and that's the disgraceful thing about this whole takeover. You know, he's offering double market value on top of a 1.4 billion pledged investment, and that's not good enough for our owners as well. So what we're left with now, almost a year of this takeover going on, is someone who's just going to overpay for 25% in Sir Jim because they're desperate for the club. You know, this is the biggest and arguably the most historic football club on the planet, and after a year, there's just one bidder that can stump enough for 25%. That tells you everything you need to know about the market value. The fact that we are the biggest and most historic club on the planet, football's the biggest club, the Premier League's the biggest league, and only one bidder can actually match the Glazers' price, and that's only for 25%, shows how ludicrous their price tag was, and shows that Qatar were going to, if the Qatar bid was accepted, Qatar would be massively overpaying because they've then got to clear the debt and do a million things on top of this. So I think the fact that the Glazers think that if they stay on longer, the club will be worth more is crazy, because Sir Jim seems like the only man in the world willing to pay the ridiculous price tag they had. And as he said, it's a joke. If they wanted to sell minority stake, they could have done it privately last November. The market dictates what United are worth, not Glazer and Rain. Remember when there were apparently 8 serious bidders? All along, there's only been one bidder for 100% of the club, so why should he bid against himself? Which is true. Why should have Sheikh Yassim gone and bidded even higher and higher and higher if he was the only guy serious about buying the full club? Why should it? He was the only guy. Apparently there was 8 bidders, loads for minority, but as said here, he's right. You know, for me, the whole takeover process has been a joke, because it feels like this whole time they just wanted to stay on the club longer and wanted a minority offer. So if that's the case, why couldn't they do that privately? Were they using Qatar this whole time as a game to get Sir Jim to up his bid? Probably so. It was said, look, Ratcliffe is overpaying, and any valuation higher than Sheikh Sims is sheer lunacy, and he's right. At the end of the day, Ratcliffe is winning the takeover, and Ratcliffe's going to be the next owner of United because he's willing to pay a sheer lunatic price for 25% of the club, a club he doesn't have full control of. And he can only afford to buy 25% of the club to start with because, you know, the club's such a mess. And the problem is, and this is a big question, if he buys 25% of the club, who's going to be paying for the new stadium? Who's going to be fixing the roof? Is he going to buy 25% and then have to spend the money for the new stadium and the roof? Who's going to pay for the new training centre, facilities, players, community? Because I don't think the Glazers want to use the money that Sir Jim gives them to then spend on the club. They want to use that money for themselves, surely. Sure they would, because otherwise they go with Qatar. Qatar, they'd get 6 billion, they could leave, and that 6 billion is complete for them. With Sir Jim, they're going to get 1.5 billion, but surely they want that 1.5 billion, and they want Sir Jim to invest extra money on top of things. And he said a few points here. He said United can't keep it upright in these days, never mind City, Liverpool and Arsenal, and I don't even want to think about Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. And if they go with Ratcliffe, they get another shareholder. How does that help the decision making? Where is the new vision and the new ambition? Where is the engagement with the fans? Sheikh Yassim tried to bridge the gap between reality and lunacy on his valuation. He did his best. And that's what Sky Kavanagh said, and he's been told. And I think it's true. At the end of the day, you know, people can be as mad as they want at the Glazers and at Sir Jim Ratcliffe and all of that. And, you know, the Glazers are greedy. And madly, Sir Jim wanted United so badly that he was willing to pay a ridiculous price to feed into the Glazers' greed. When you look at it and you look at the offers they got, it's crazy. And I just think, for me, You know, it's disappointing that we're not going to get Qatar. I mean, maybe there's still a chance, but I doubt it. But can you blame Qatar? Can you even blame Qatar for not wanting to up their bid or match this? It's crazy. And it has been said by Romano that Ratcliffe and his Ineos group is set to run sporting plans at United. It means that the new co-owner will decide on managing director of football and similar positions. So is Sir Jim just paying to be another Woodward? Is Sir Jim actually having some kind of control, a say in what happens? Is Sir Jim going to employ the right people? The problem is with this takeover is there's so many questions that haven't been answered. Obviously, there's going to be a board meeting on Thursday, which I think will approve that deal. But this is a massive blow to the fans because, you know, we fought for the Glazers out and we don't know if they're going. The takeover details we don't know. Is it going to get worse? Is it going to get better? You know, how's the money being spent on the stadium? Is it going to be money that puts us in more debt, more interest? You know, we've ended up with this takeover with so many more questions. If it's Qatar, we know exactly what happens. They buy 100% of the club. It's easy to do. We know that they want to invest in this, and that, and bring the club back to the top. With Sir Jim, we don't know how much of the club he's buying, when he's buying the club, where the money's going. Is there going to be debt added to the club? We don't know what he's going to do. Can he do this? Can he do that? There's so many questions that haven't been answered. And I think, you know, Sky Kavanagh summed it up perfectly, and that's what we need to know. Anyway, people, look, I'm ill, so there's apologize for no live stream tonight, but please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Let me know your thoughts. What are your questions for the Glazers? Because I feel like this whole day has been a big blow. I think it's not looking good for United, and I will tomorrow speak about the right winger we've been linked to, and a few players we've been linked to in January. But I'm not interested in talking about January transfer windows because I think there's definitely going to be some PR spin. I think a lot of the news that's going to come out is going to be a big fat PR spin. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you next time. And yeah, bye people.